Happy brew day, everyone. Today I'm doing an oat cream IPA. Not a style I've done before, but I have been drinking a few of them lately, and I tell you what, I've been enjoying the heck out of them. So it's encouraged me enough to put down a brew of this style. Lactose, I'm not very fond of, but it seems to work in this style of beer. So I'm going to put this brew together today. Watch along, see how I go. Cheers. Okay, so for this beer, I am doing a 25 litre mash in. I'm going to sparge it with 10 litres of water. And then for the mash, I'm using 4.2 kilos of Otter, 1.4 kilos of Flaked Oats, 550 grams of Wheat Malt, 200 grams of Cara-Pils, 200 grams of Melanoiden Malt, 100 grams of Acid Malt, and then in the boil I'm using 35 grams of Amarillo at 60 minutes, and then I'm adding the lactose at 10 minutes, so that's 400 grams of lactose. Whirlpool Additions, 30 grams of Amarillo, 30 grams of cashmere, 15 grams of Citra, and just a little bit of dextrose. Dry hopping, I'm going to add 100 grams of cashmere, 50 grams of Vic Secret, and 40 grams of Citra. What I'm really hoping to get out of this beer is that it's going to turn out nice and creamy, super juicy and fruity with all those hop bombs, heaps of hops. I was going to use normal Citra, but I wanted to go the cryo to give it a go. So you've only got to use a bit less, and hopefully it avoids using less hops. Hopefully I avoid getting any hop burn or any oils or getting any sediment from the hops in the brew. So that's probably the only risk for this one, but I'm looking forward to it and I cannot wait. So for this beer today, I'm going to make a yeast starter because I'm going to be using this liquid East Coast Ale White Labs WLP 008. All right, so now it's in. Just make sure you're careful when working around these. This can get very hot, so I'd recommend getting like a glove or something so you can pick it up and swirl it. But also to make sure you keep a good eye on it, because sometimes this will steam and foam up. It'll actually boil up. So you just want to be here all the time just to make sure you give it a swish, just to cut any of those bubbles out and stop it from boiling over. All right, and we've got a little gentle boil here. It has foamed up a little bit right to the top here, so I've been keeping an eye on it, but I've just had to turn the heat on the lowest possible just so it doesn't keep doing it. All right. 25 litres is our target. Melanoiden Malt, Acid Malt, the Otter, mash in. It is pretty, it's a pretty big malt grain bill for me. I do have about 25 litres of water, so I'm a bit worried that it's not all going to fit. I guess we'll wait and see. Fingers crossed that the filter on this does a good job, and that the oats doesn't sort of block it up, clag it up too much with all the floury, I guess, oatiness. I don't know what the term for that is. Hope the oatiness doesn't block it up. Seems alright though. The consistency's good. Yeah, we're definitely getting close. I don't think I'm even going to be able to get the top screen in this. Malt pipe's actually disappeared under the bed there. Oh dear. Oh no. I've just knocked this bloody cap off. Alright, there we go. This is a disaster. Okay, I'm just going to have to be careful around that. Right. I've never had this problem before. Maybe I've used a bit too much water. The consistency does feel good. I think I've broken up most of the dough. Oh lordy lord. It's always something that goes wrong on brew day. Nothing ever goes to plan. Murphy's Law. Normally I will keep the pump running, but I think in this instance I will just leave it off because this thing will just overflow. I'm going to have heaps of grain in my mash, so I'm probably going to end up with a stuck sparge and probably end up with a stuck pump as well, which I really wanted to avoid, but we'll see what happens. Mash in is complete. So it's gone nice and fluffy. It's actually come a bit higher than what it was before. All right, let's get this out. Yeah. Watch me struggle to try and pull this basket out. It weighs a ton. Is that hooked on? Oh, there we go. There we go. Woo! Let it drain down a bit. Alright, well you've all seen me sparge before, so I'm going to let this drain down. I'll keep tipping water over it and be back for the boil. Alright, we've hit the boil, we've got all our numbers, I've got the right water levels, I'm pretty happy with that. Here I've got my first hop addition for the 60 minutes. This is 30 grams of Amarillo, so we'll just chuck her in. Alright, it's just started raining outside, so I apologise if the sound is a bit bad. So the boil's coming close to the end. I've got about 15 minutes left on the boil, but for the 10-minute boil addition, I'm going to add some lactose. Alright, this is where I have a bit of a dilemma. I do not like lactose in many beers, but this oat cream style just seems to work, but that to me seems like a shitload of lactose. So apparently just chugging it in, so let's go. Hear that thunder? We've got 10 minutes left on the boil, and then we'll turn it off. We'll let it cool down just a little bit, get it down to like, I don't know, between 80 and 90 degrees, and then I'll turn the pump back on to recirculate some hops for the Whirlpool Edition. All right, so I've got the pump flowing. I'm down to temp now. I've got it down to 88 degrees, and I'm going to chuck in the Whirlpool Hop Edition. So I didn't have 30 grams of Amarillo, so I just used what was left over, which was 6 grams, and then chucked in 15 grams of Vic Secret. I've got 30 grams of the Cashmere, 15 Cryo Citra, and that's it. So I'll let them steep for 20 minutes. Whirlpool's done. There we go. So I've been waiting to pitch the yeast for this one. I did chuck it into a container like I showed you before, just to let it cool down, but I was also waiting for the yeast starter to take off and get going. It's been about a week's time since I brewed the beer, and the yeast starter just hasn't really taken off. I think I've used the yeast is a bit older. I have checked it. It has dropped from 104.2 down to 102.1. 2.1. Yeah, I think it was 2.1. I chucked it through the refractometer. Yeah, it was 102.1. So it's probably not as fermented, and it's probably not as viable as I would like it to be. But look, I'm going to chuck this in anyway. I'm going to still put this on, and just hopefully it does take off. If it doesn't, I do have backup yeasts that I'll use. So I'm going to chuck this in now. So I've already sanitized, but let's give it a little bit more. It's not going to hurt. The starting gravity on my wort ended up being 1.1074. So we should end up with a nice, tasty, strong beer. Always make sure you close this bad boy. There's been a few times where I haven't closed it, and you hear a lot of swear words when you lose half your wort through to it. So actually, before I do this, let's give it a quick mix around. A bit of air into it. Now, what should I end up with there? We've got 18 litres in there. So with the 2 litre starter, that will push it up to 20 litres. Give this a... It's pretty much just made up of the light malt extract and the yeast, so it's not really going to impart too much odd flavours or anything to the beer without dropping that little pill in there. That's it. We're good. Fingers crossed this works. I'm going to be doing a beer review on this one eventually, so if anything changes, if this yeast doesn't work and I have to add something else, I'll give you an update then. So cheers. Thank you again for joining me for another brew day. I hope that you guys give this a go. If you have any tips or tricks for me that you could share with me, I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, if you've got any questions on how I did anything, just hit me up in the comments below. Also like and subscribe to my channel, and also just let anyone else know if anyone else is into brewing. They might be new to brewing, just to hit me up, and I'll do what I can to help. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.